In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, we see a vast amount of urban growth. Urbanization is the growth of cities and simultaneous increase in population. In 1840, cities only contain about 1/12 of the total U.S. population, but by 1900, 1/3 of the U.S. population is now living in cities. For a wee second, think about why this might be the case. One reason is immigrant settlement. Immigrants come to the city looking for jobs, looking for a place to work, a place to live, and getting used to a new way of life. This adjustment to a new way of life is known as culture shock. We also see a decline in farming. New farm technology requires fewer workers, and we now have people looking for other types of work. The frontier, the western frontier, is closing for a number of reasons that we discussed in goal 4, namely barbed wire causing the open range to end, and the poor conditions of farms in the West. We have industrialization, the growth of industry and factories going on in cities, and this results in job opportunities for many people. There are also cultural opportunities. Cities are ethnically diverse, and people can easily find people who speak their own language and share the same cultural traditions. Cultural pluralism is practicing more than one culture, integrating other aspects from other cultures into your own. With the rapid growth of cities, we start to see a number of urban problems developing. For one thing, it is difficult to find housing for the many new immigrants coming into the city. And housing is poor. They are often reduced to very crowded housing with poor ventilation and lighting, no indoor plumbing, very overcrowded and unsanitary. Sometimes you see this in row houses, also in buildings called tenements, which are cramped, poorly built apartments that were thrown up to accommodate the vast influx of people coming into the cities. Transportation begins to be a problem, and we see the need for mass transit to move people around the city. This results in the development of subways and elevated trains. Also, due to desperate circumstances for many people, we see an increase in crime rate. The next couple of slides are pictures of people from the late 1800s, early 1900s who had come to the city and were struggling to make it. These are clotheslines you can see strung between tenements. This is a very well-known picture with children playing around a dead horse in the street. And it shows the lack of sanitation in the cities. You can only imagine what this kind of uncleanliness results in terms of drinking water and living conditions. There are very few city services, public services, and also social services set up to accommodate these problems. One of the major events during this time period took place in Chicago in 1871. It was called the Great Fire, which destroyed 3 square miles of Chicago. And it was the result of these tenement buildings that had been set up. And once a fire had started, it's very difficult to contain. Of course, cities were not equipped with fire departments, enough fire departments to deal with these situations. So it was incredibly damaging. We also see issues with pollution and, of course, disease, as you can imagine. This does not go completely unnoticed. We start to see some public commentary raising awareness about the difficulties caused by urbanization and industrialization. One of these is known as the social gospel, and this is the Christian theme of helping the less fortunate, results in organizations like the Salvation Army. Jacob Riis, who you see in the top picture there, wrote a story called How the Other Half Lives, and it raised awareness about the poor living conditions in the tenements and slums of urban cities. Jane Addams was a reformer who established a settlement house known as the Hull House in Chicago. And it really began the idea of settlement houses, which offered education and social services to immigrants. These people made a very large difference in terms of both raising awareness and helping those in need. So that's it for this series of videos. I look forward to seeing you in class.